Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, alhamdulillah, I would like to officially welcome everyone to our Maktab open house. This is something that has been in the works for quite a few months, mashallah. We've been putting a lot of effort behind it. And inshallah, today, all the details of the program will come in front of you, inshallah. And I hope from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that's a great success. But like always, before starting any program, we would like to start this program also, inshallah, with a tilawah of Qu'ran. And it will be done by one of our young Maktab students to suit the occasion. So inshallah, call up Abdullah Mirza. Inshallah, he will recite a few ayats in front of you, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وقضى ربك ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه وبالوالدين إحسانا إما يبلغن عندك الكبر أحدهما أو كلاهما فلا تقل لهما أف ولا تنهرهما وقل لهما قولا كريما واخفض لهما جناح الذل من الرحمة وقل رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا ربكم أعلم بما في نفوسكم إن تكونوا صالحين فإنه كان للأوابين غفورا وآت ذا القربى حقا والمسكين وابن السبيل ولا تبذر تبذيرا إن المبذرين كانوا إخوان الشياطين وكان الشيطان لربه كفورا صدق الله العظيم.
Takbir, takbir, takbir. Jazakallah Abdullah, very well done. So mashallah, this is what we are kind of aiming towards, that all of our kids and all of our children raising up in this environment, in this society, are able to read Qur'an and have attachment and love with the Qur'an and are confident to come up and read Qur'an, inshallah. And along with that, they also have the basic knowledge of Deen in order for them to be steadfast on their faith when they're interacting with people in this locality, in this area, inshallah. So like we have mentioned previously, today is the open house. We will have on-site registration. All of our potential students that are planning to register, be part of this program, have to be registered once again, inshallah. We will have registration booths on the back over there. There's 2 tables. That's where our registration will be. And we have displayed some of our course books of Islamic studies, the curriculum we'll be using in that table on the side. And also downstairs on the ladies' side, there will be 2 sisters for registration, inshallah, with laptops. And there's also the books of our curriculum displayed, so the parents can take a look quickly what's going to be taught, according to different age levels. And inshallah, Mufti Azaz, as I'll be calling him up soon, will be going through the coursework and how the maktab will be run, inshallah. So I urge you that, inshallah, please stay patiently till the end, inshallah. It will be worth your while. And we will also have pizza and chai and some dessert afterwards. So that is something to look forward to, definitely, inshallah. Are you ready? With that, inshallah, I would like to call Mufti Azaz, who is our principal for this Maktab program. Inshallah, this whole program is, alhamdulillah, being run under his guidance. And also, alhamdulillah, he will be running other Islamic studies programs, educational programs in MSI in the coming future also, inshallah. So get used to listening to Mufti Azaz a lot, inshallah. Jazakullah Khair.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Jazakumullah Khair. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wal aqibatu lil muttaqin was salatu was salam ala rasulihil kareem wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsanin ila yawmiddin, amma ba'd. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته صدق الله العظيم. Respected brothers and elders and mothers and sisters in Islam, Alhamdulillah, thumma alhamdulillah, from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are very blessed that in the masjid they were sitting, that there is always a concern for the future generations of Islam. There's always some type of talk, some type of concern, as we call it, a fiqr that's going on, that how can we engage our youth, how can we engage our children, make sure that this legacy of Islam, this religion of Islam that is within us, that it gets passed down from generation to generation. And this indeed is a noble fiqr, is a noble concern we have. It's not only just a concern, but it's a responsibility upon us as well. The Prophet ﷺ, in a very beautiful narration, the narration that I just quoted before you in Sahih Bukhari, Prophet ﷺ has narrated, said that kullukum ra'in, each and every single one of you. Kullukum, it's a very general, aam statement. Every human being is involved in this. Kullukum ra'in, every single one of you is a shepherd. Wa kullukum mas'ulun an ra'iyatihi, and each and every single one of you will be questioned, will be asked on the day of Qiyamah regarding his or her flock. And the Prophet ﷺ continues with the narration. And the Prophet ﷺ says, Wal amiru ra'in, the leader of the Muslim ummah, he is also a shepherd. He has to look after his flock, means the nation of the Muslim nation. Then the Prophet ﷺ said that a man is responsible and will be questioned regarding his family. A woman will be responsible and will be questioned on the day of Qiyamah regarding the household of the husband and also the children. And the Prophet ﷺ then relates the hadith again and says, كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْعُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. He repeats it, that each and every one of you. How would I change the slide?
Just press enter.
Okay. So this is the hadith that I have over there, that each and every single one, وَكُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْعُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. Every one of you is a shepherd and each is responsible for his or her flock. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as parents, mashallah, many parents are sitting over here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted us children as a ni'mah. And indeed, having children is a ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it's not only just a bounty and a gift, but it's also a responsibility. And this is a responsibility that each and every single one of us will be questioned. That how did we raise our children? What is the education that we give to our children? In fact, the Prophet ﷺ in another narration, he said that every child is born on fitrah. Every child is born on fitrah. And the natural disposition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is born on Islam. It is the parents who make that child into a Christian, into a Jew, into a Magian. It is the parents, the tarbiyah, the education, the upbringing that the parents do, as a result of that the child stays in the fold of Islam or changes and goes into a different religion. So this is a huge responsibility that we as parents have, and we have to look after. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the purpose of a life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. We normally study this ayah, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, for our own selves. That yes, my purpose of my life is for the sake of the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The purpose of my life is the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we seldomly apply this to our children, that the purpose of my life or my children is also just the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The sole purpose of our children's life is to recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they must pass away from this world in such a manner that Allah is pleased with them. That is the purpose of their life as well. And we are responsible to make sure that our children achieve this purpose as well. That until they reach the state of adulthood, they're under our care. We have to make sure that we exhaust ourselves to make sure that they have a righteous upbringing. So now we live in a society, we live in the, you could say, the 2017 society, where we send our children to public schools, private schools, and schools, they give good education. Alhamdulillah, we're not complaining. The schools that we have, they look after our children, give them good education, they teach them the language and math and science and make sure they have good character, etc., etc. But schools have their own value system as well. The non-Muslim schools that our children go to, they have their own value. And many of these values are in stark contrast with the values of Islam. They're teaching certain concepts, but these concepts go against the values of Islam. Everyone, especially children, inculcate in them the philosophies and the ethos of the environments around them. We are such individuals that whatever happens around us, we get affected. Whatever happens around us, we get affected. And a very simple example. For example, if a person is extremely happy, he's going home, and before he goes home, he sees outside there's a lot of people gathered outside his house. Everyone's face is down, and there's people crying, and all the relatives are there, and they're hugging each other. We know something happened, something sad happened. Before we even enter the house, the environment is such that environment affects us, our smile, our laughter go away, and we will start frowning. We will become sad, and tears might come out of our eyes as well. Something happened. Because why the environment is a sad environment, our happiness goes away and we become sad. Now on the flip side, if a person is very sad, he's upset, he has some type of depression, but he's with his friends and they go out and eat and they're enjoying and they're joking, after a few minutes, 10, 15, 20 minutes, he also starts smiling and joking with them as well. Because why? The environment changed. We are very susceptible to our environment. We get affected by our environment very quickly. But children, more so, they get affected by their environment. And when the children go to these environments that are non-Islamic, those non-Islamic values and ethos, they also come inside them. Gradually, people start thinking according to the philosophy of the environment. If it's a non-Muslim environment, the child is going to the school for 8 hours a day, from preschool. Now no one starts at kindergarten, they start at pre-K. From pre-K all the way to 12th grade. Then you have 4 years after that in college. And then you have to do masters after that and maybe some other studies after. All that time, is that an Islamic environment they're involved in? All those hours after hours after hours we put our precious children into an environment. That's a non-Islamic secular environment. That is definitely going to have an effect on the child's mind. And the hard reality, this is a reality that we as a community have to face. That there are many students who have become influenced by their teachers, by their professors, and have left the fold of Islam. I have given this khutbah multiple times on the minbar over here. I've given this khutbah also in many other masjids. The reality in our area, in the suburbs of DuPage, how many youth have left the fold of Islam? Coming from good families. Families where the mother and father pray 5 times salah. MashaAllah, wholesome, very good akhlaq, everything. But because of the education, because there was no Islamic education infused in the children from a young age, they got influenced by the environment. And they have left the fold of Islam. And I'm not talking about 1, 2, 3. I'm talking about scores of people. Scores of individuals have left the fold of Islam. People that I know personally. Alhamdulillah, some have come back to the fold of Islam. But there are many that are not in the fold of Islam. Hafiz and Hafiz of the Qu'ran. Hafiz of the Quran have left the fold of Islam. At one time, the young teenager wearing niqab and gloves and very practical, but went to school, got influenced by friends, the environment is around there, left the fold, and she's still a non-Muslim. Another good friend of mine, Hafiz of the Quran, took a class in university where they confused him about religion and started doubting religion, and that doubt stayed for a very long time. Left the fold of Islam. So these are real live case scenarios that I'm speaking about. So we had a chance to travel to South Africa. And when I traveled 2 years ago to South Africa, this wave of apostasy, the wave of leaving the fold of Islam is not so common there yet. The Muslims, alhamdulillah, they might be weak in practice. Muslims might be weak in practice, but in their heart they're still firm Muslims. They recognize one Allah. They recognize the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we discuss with our teachers that what is the case? Why is it that's different? Because why? Because of technology, the whole world has become a global community. So the fitnas that are here, they're going to be fitnas over there as well. But the youth are still, alhamdulillah, strong in the fold of Islam. And then they said that you need to work on the maktab system. The number one advice that we got from majority of our teachers and all the scholars, when you go back to America, do not underestimate the maktab system. Do not underestimate the after-school Qu'ran and Islamic education system. This is what's going to save our youth and keep them in the fold of Islam. And then they gave us live scenarios of what happened over there. That many of the students in South Africa and other parts, they go through the maktab. I mean, over there, it's a normal, you could say, custom, that after you come from school, you go to Maktab. That's it. No question asked. It's part of the system. It's part of the family lifestyle. That after you come from school, you eat, have break, this and that, and you go to the masjid, and you go and join the Maktab and learn Quran and Islamic studies. Everyone does that. Majority of the youth do that. They said yes, once they left the Maktab system, they went to school. They became weak. They became weak in actions. They might have left, salah once in a while. The physical appearance might have changed. They might have been involved in, for example, smoking and involved with the opposite gender, having boyfriend and girlfriends, etc. But eventually, when they grew mature, they remembered their roots. They got married, they became mature, and they came back to the right path. That pill that they ate when they were in Maktab, the fruits of it were realized later on, that it kept them in the fold of Islam. So that's why do not underestimate this, because whatever is taught at a young age, it remains in the child. A child learning at a young age is like a naqshi fil hajar. It's like you're carving in a stone. Once you carve in the stone, no matter how much the stone becomes dirty, you just throw water, the carving will still remain, because it's been embedded in it. So the ta'aleem that happens at a young age, the effect of it you'll see for a very long time. So now we as parents living in America, we see the importance of education, and we put our children in the best of the schools. We make sure they do their homework, their English is top, their maths, their science, they're involved in extracurricular activities, everything we do. Why? Because we want to make sure they have the best education. We want the best for best. But more so, we should have concern for the best of the best education in Islam. Because why? Whatever we teach them, you'll see the fruits of it later. There's a very famous scholar in India, he passed away. His name is Sheikh Yusuf Rahimahullah, Sheikh Yusuf Kandelvi. When he was young, his mother would always tell him stories of the Sahaba. The mother was very passionate about the Sahaba, and she would always mention the stories of the Sahaba to young Yusuf. And it's written in his biography that when he was young, just a small child, he would write on small little goats, and then he would say that I'm going to go Hajj with this. Like how the Sahaba traveled from Medina to Makkah and they went on Hajj. I'm also going to go on Hajj. And then he became a teenager, and he still had this passion for the Sahaba. So when he came studying the books of Hadith and he came to Mishkat Sharif, the teacher realized that this student here, he has the strong connection with the lives of the Sahaba. So his sole job was that whatever Hadith narration happens, the Sahabi that narrates it, he has to go find the biography of all those Sahaba. So during the entire book of Mishkat, this young teenager who was studying the book of Mishkat of Hadith, every single day, any Hadith that comes, whichever Sahabi narrates it, he would go in the books of biographies and write down a detailed biography of all those Sahaba. And he would come the next day and present to the teacher. That ta'aleem, that education from a young age, was instilled in such that when he became an adult, he became a very great muhaddith of his time. And he's written some commentaries on the books of Hadith as well. But one of the books he has written is called Hayatus Sahaba. Hayatus Sahaba. A very popular book in 5 volumes. Any bookstore you go in Saudi Arabia, they'll have a copy of Hayatus Sahaba for sale. So widely accepted by everyone. It's a masterpiece in the field of Sahaba. But where did that shock, where did that interest come from to learn about the Sahaba? Came from a young age. The mother saying stories about the Sahaba, creating that shock. Everything happens at a young age. Whatever you instill in the child at a young age, and that's how it's going to happen. So if we want to save our future generations, do not be living in an illusion that inshallah everything will be fine. We need to prepare. We don't say inshallah everything will be fine when it comes to education, right? You know, when you put them in middle school and high school, we say inshallah he'll be okay. Kuch na kuch kar lega. Inshallah he'll become something. No. Where's your homework? Where's the report card? Why aren't you not doing this? Prepare for the SATs, prepare for the ACTs. We sit on them and we make sure that they are diligent. But when it comes to Islamic studies, then we either keep them at home, inshallah, we're Muslims, he'll be a Muslim as well. Oh, he's going to, inshallah, yeah, everything will be okay. But then we see the reality, the hard reality hits that our neighbors, our friends, sons and daughters living for Islam, then we get worried. But then it's too late. Because why? It's not been written when they were young. So that's the whole fikr of this masjid, of MSI here, is to save our future generations from this. So that's why the Maktab system, the Prophet ﷺ in a beautiful hadith, and in the graduation, some of these slides I mentioned, but I want to explain more in detail. The Prophet ﷺ said, "An-nasu ma'adin." Mankind is like mines, كَمَعَادِنِ الذَّهَبِ وَالْفِضَّةِ, like mines of gold and silver. The most precious metals commodity, what is it? Gold and silver, right? We always value gold and silver, we track it, because we know how precious it is. The Prophet ﷺ said, human beings, the resources of human beings, they're like mines of gold and silver. They're precious. They're very precious. But how are mines? Now this example the Prophet ﷺ gives, we need to observe it more. That when we go to a mine, we don't just pick up the dirt and say, okay, I got some gold and silver, and go. No, we take it, and then what do? We take out the metals and the rocks. And it's mixed in with other impurities. And then we send it to a laboratory where they refine it. They clean all the dirt. If it's gold, and then they burn the gold, so all the khalis gold comes up top and the dirt goes away. So the same with humans. Humans are precious. They're precious. They're more precious than gold and silver and diamonds. But just like gold, silver and diamonds, it has to go through a process for the true value to come out. For the true value, you have to make a process. What is the process of human being? It's the process of tarbiyah, of human tarbiyah. The machine that we have at MSI, the Maktab machine, that is the process you bring raw material in. And now through the ta'aleem and tarbiyah and the stories of the Sahaba, and you study Qu'ran and Hadith and Aqidah and Seerah, that is the laboratory that we have over here, where we have a teacher. And the teacher has a manual, which is the Islamic curriculum. And at the end, the refined product will be these precious jewels. These precious jewels, precious in the eyes of who? In the eyes of Allah. In the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the vision that we have is to produce children of taqwa and tarbiyah. Not just mass information. It's very easy to get information. MashaAllah, the internet is full of information. But the more a person goes on the internet, the more confused he becomes, right? Is to produce children taqwa and tarbiyah. Provide three things we have: quality, education, and tarbiyah. Quality must be there. So we have to assess the quality, and we have an inner system, the back end, where the masjid representatives, the principal, the supervisors, the head teachers, we sit together. And we're going to make sure that the quality is being there. Of quality, education, tarbiyah. Number two, through trained teachers. We're not just going to hire anyone. We're going to make sure we hire the best of the teachers and not just trust them. Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he was asked that, is it sufficient that you hire someone who is qualified? He said, no, until you do not make sure that the qualified person fulfills their responsibility. Only when the responsibility is fulfilled, then the job is done. Just hiring someone is not enough. So we have a system over here where the teacher will be hired and they're also going to be trained. There's training for the teachers, which is not common in Quran classes anymore. Oh, mashallah, you learned Quran? Come on, you come and teach now. No, we want to make sure the teachers also have good tajweed. They also understand child psychology. They know how to teach. Because teaching is not a natural process. No one's born a teacher. You have to learn how to teach. So we're going to be, second thing is trained teachers. And number three, under fully systemized administration. The administration of masjid is going to be very systemized, everything running smoothly. There's nothing haphazard going on. So now we have many systems. Now the systems of England and South Africa and the Arab world and all Sri Lanka and Mumbai and Pakistan, they have a system. And they're very successful. When I visited Sri Lanka, one masjid, 200 students. And back home in the subcontinent, masjids are very close. They're not far away like we have that we have to take a car. You walk to the next masjid. But one masjid will have 200 students in their maktabs. 6 different classes at different timings would take place. And I was shocked, like, everyone sends their kids to the maktab. There's no question. No one doubts. There's no ifs or buts. But they have a proper syllabus. The reason why in America we have not been able to progress with our Quranic education is we're fairly new in this country. Only 30, 40 years old. We're not that old. South Africa is 150, 200 years old. The Muslims have been settled over there, mashallah, right? So we're fairly new over here. Our number one concern was our survival, to get a good job, to make sure there's food on the table, right? So that's what our parents or grandparents came and did. And then we want to make sure we have good education. Then the second thing, we built a masjid. We need a place of worship. So we built masjid. Alhamdulillah, I remember when this masjid was just an office building. And there was the bathrooms over here where I'm sitting. I remember those times, And now alhamdulillah, beautiful carpet, and we have nice mimbar, and good imams, good recitation. Gradually everything increased. But now we need to go to the next step, to make sure that we have proper education for our youth as well. So there's no proper syllabus, no collective teachers method, no training for the teachers, anyone is just teaching anything, no proper administration, no supervision. Because of this, we had slow progress. There are certain students that have come to me later on to learn Quran, and they're on the later part of the Quran. They're on the 27th, 28th juz of recitation. But they're reciting Quran as if this is the first day in the Quran. They just finished the Qaida. And that's how poor their progress was. There was no progress. The first juz and the 28th juz, there's no difference. Exact same way they're reciting. Slow progress or zero progress. People are changing syllabus all the time. Let's try this book, let's try that book. And because of that, the students get confused and there's no progress. Unutilized time of students, and I'm going to explain on this inshallah in the next few slides. The lessons normally are given one-on-one. You have one student coming up, he recites his lesson, he goes and sits down. Next student comes up, he recites his lesson, they go sit down. The third student comes up, she recites her lesson, she goes and sits down. And when they go and sit down, we expect them to be engaged in studying, right? So they're supposed to be learning, but they're tickling each other, poking each other, laughing, joking, someone's falling asleep, someone's looking outside the window. Only that one person that you're teaching is fully engaged, but the rest of them are not fully engaged, they're passively engaged in the class. And then on top of that, the teachers sometimes are not paid properly. Now, we live in a world that, we need to survive as well. If they're giving their time and effort, but they're not being paid properly, they have concern that, I need to make my ends meet, I need to go to a different job after this. And they have to go do tuition after this to someone else's house. So while they're teaching, their concentration is somewhere else. There's one madrasa that I've heard about, that the teacher is teaching a class in the masjid as part of the masjid, and he has his own private students also studying in the same class. So he's getting an income from the masjid, and also has a separate income from his 2-3 private students that are studying there as well. Which is, you could say is not valid. A person cannot do that. If he's engaged in one occupation, he cannot be doing another job at the same time. Because why? There's no supervision. And he needs the extra money. So we want to make sure our teachers are paid properly here as well. And we want to restrict the number of students per class, not to have an excessively big size class. Now, if you want to have a good Maktab system, we have to have the following: a proper syllabus. Now the books are in the back. I urge everyone to look at the books, even downstairs for the sisters. There's books in the bags. I urge you to look at the Islamic curriculum, and I'll speak more about this as well. We're going to have a collective teaching method, which I'm going to explain. We're going to have periodic training for the teachers, and that's my responsibility, that I'm going to make sure that my teachers are trained. Proper administrative procedures and supervision. Once you have this, you're going to have fast progress. You'll have a fixed curriculum. We have collective teaching methods. All the pitfalls of not doing this, now we're going to have it into the plus side. The teachers will be paid properly, that they don't have to worry about it. A proper fee structure we're going to have. So the supervision is in this. We're going to have a separate principal. Normally, if you have one-on-one teaching, you're the principal, you're also the head teacher, and you're also the teacher, and you're also the custodian as well, cleaning up the classes. Everything is that one teacher has to do everything, and he's also speaking to the parents on WhatsApp at the same time while he's teaching. So he's also handling the administration work at the same time, right? That's not possible to have a quality teacher. So we have a separate principal for this. Training teachers, we have conduct lessons in a very efficient way, and I'm going to explain that today, inshallah. Understand student psychology, which I'll explain later in the slides as well. continuous training. The parents will be well informed. We have an online system as well where the parents could log in, inshallah, and see the progress of their students, their attendance as well. Sometimes parents complain that my student is not progressing. We could show them that, yeah, your student was not there for half of the month. How is he going to progress if you don't bring your child to the student in a class? You have to make sure they're in class. Number of students per class were restricted, maximum 15 to 20, no more than that. And we have age restriction as well, that we don't want a 17-year-old in the same class as a 7-year-old. So normally a student, the maximum that we have for after school around this area is 2 hours. 2 hours is a lot. So the maximum, I took the maximum numbers here. Those of you that like math and like numbers, inshallah, you'll enjoy these next few slides. Okay? So 120 minutes a day of our child's life that we're dedicating to the masjid. 120 minutes. And we send them, let's say, to Monday to Thursday, that's 16 days a month. That works out to 32 hours, 32 quality hours. Keep in mind, the time of a child is also amana. This is also a trust. We cannot just waste it. It's a trust that we have to look after this time. 32 hours. That's 320 hours in a year, and if you keep it for 5 years, that's 1,600 hours. 1,600 quality hours. Imagine if someone puts 1,600 hours into one subject. They should master that subject, right? But why is it that students for years upon years upon years are going to Quran class, but they cannot recite Quran with proper tajweed yet? And I'm not pointing fingers at any school or any masjid or any program. I'm speaking on a general basis. This is generally the case. You could talk to any of the Quran teachers that we have here. They have students coming from other places, and they're shocked that you studied Quran for 3 years and you're still struggling with the tajweed. And they expect us to fix that, but they're not ready to put the child back into the first lesson. So we're stuck with a child whose lessons are not strong. So now the fee structure that we have is very economical as well. We have a book. 7 subjects are in one book, so you don't have to purchase a separate book for each subject. Everything is in one book. Everything is one book. The monthly fee is very nominal as well. $100 a month for the first child. If there's a sibling, then there's a discount, $75 for the second child. And if there's another sibling, the third child will pay $50. The third child will pay $50. Inshallah, if you have more kids, alhamdulillah, there'll be more discounts for that as well. Okay? So, but the key word is arrangements for financial assistance will be made. No child will be rejected because they cannot pay the tuition, and no parent will be pressured regarding tuition. Means if they genuinely cannot pay, we don't have the concept that we make them feel belittled or feel ashamed or feel like, I don't feel comfortable. No, with wholeheartedly bring your child. What's the maqsad? The maqsad is ta'aleem. Maqsad is our children get education. The fee structure is just for the system to run. So the teachers are paid and everything is running smoothly. That's secondary. That's all secondary. The primary is that our child must get an education. So we, inshallah, as part of the masjid, we will make arrangements for those individuals. For example, we have some refugee students. They're going to enroll. They're not going to be able to pay full fees. We're going to go out and speak to our community members. Can you sponsor one child? And alhamdulillah, this community is a giving community. This community gives whenever there's a need. They always give. When there's need to give to Burma, they give. When they have, scholars coming doing chanda for their madrasas overseas, our community gives, mashallah. When there's a need for Syria, so there's a need for the refugees, inshallah, I guarantee you that we'll have members of the community that inshallah, I'll sponsor one kid. Don't worry about it. Another will say, I'll sponsor 2. Don't worry about it. Because they find this happiness that I'm looking after the ummah of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So we're not going to worry too much about that. So the old system, now this is the old system. You have one mu'allim and you have one talibul ilm, one student, where the student comes and studies and you give him the lesson and he moves on, right? So you have 120 minutes a day. Let's say there's 20 students in a class, one teacher, and 16 days a month. So that one student that comes, his quality education or his active education is 6 minutes per day. Because why? There's 20 other kids, right? So when his turn is finished, he's coming down, another student has to come. Now he gets the next 6 minutes, and then he goes sit down. So every child gets a quality of only 6 minutes, one-on-one education. Out of how many minutes? 120. In 1 year, if you take 6 minutes times 16 times 10 months, that's 960 minutes. That seems like a lot, but in 1 year, that's not a lot of minutes that he's getting. But what we want to do is we have one teacher. How they study in our public schools or in any other school, where the teacher teaches and all the students listen. Everyone listens attentively. What happens in this? Every student becomes an attentive listener. Every student becomes an active student. There's no passive students now. Everyone's an active student because everyone has to repeat with the teacher. So in this process, what happens? You have 120 minutes, 20 students, 1 teacher, 16 days. The productivity times per student is 120 minutes because there's no passive learning now. The whole class is moving together, so everyone has to pay attention every single moment in the class. So in 1 year, that's 19,000 plus minutes compared to what? 960. That is the difference between collective education and one-on-one education. We want to implement a collective education in this system here. So to compare the two, if you have the curriculum that we have is a 5-year curriculum. Now imagine you have a 5-year curriculum that you're studying 6 minutes a day. 6 minutes a day. It'll take you almost 100 years to finish the entire curriculum, right? Because you only study 6 minutes a day. Now if you're spending 120 minutes a day doing the same curriculum, you'll be able to finish in 5 years. So the curriculum we have set is a 5-year curriculum. So we see the benefits in studying collectively. And I'll inshallah explain more about collective education. Now inshallah we're going to have a small little demonstration for you here as well. So the first year and the second year. First 2 years, this is age 5 and 6. Age 5 and 6. Plus or minus. If someone's just about to turn 5, alhamdulillah, we'll accept them. Or someone's 7 but they never studied Quran, they could also join this class, okay? This is the Qaida class, okay? This is the Quran reader class where they study the letters, joining the letters, then slowly, gradually build bigger and bigger. So Quran Made Easy, the book that we're going to study is called Yassarna al-Quran. Very popular book in the Chicagoland, in fact in the whole of the United States, very popular by Shabbi Bahlam. Tried and tested, alhamdulillah, is very successful. So the point is to teach Nazara with Tajweed. Now, we will explain in child psychology that you have to give a child according to the level. Now, the 5-year-old, you're going to drill him on the rules of tajweed. Where does qaf come from? Where does ayn come from? He has no idea what you're talking about, right? So the point is not to memorize the rule of tajweed. Just make him say it. Just make him say it. For example, how do you say sod? What's the difference between sin and sod? A very easy manner to explain a 5-year-old is when you see something cute, what do you say? Aw, that's so cute. Aw. You know the aw sound that you make? Just put it before the S and you got a sod. Saw. Taw. That's it. You know, very simple. He doesn't need to learn what the exact makhraj and what's the sifat and how many sifats are attached to it. It's too confusing for him. Give him something very simple that you can make practice on. And that's it. You taught him tajweed. Yes, when he comes to 8th and 9th, then we want to get into more complicated tajweed as well, right? But everything has to be at a gradual level. They'll learn with tajweed, memorize a major portion of Juz' Amma in these 2 years. Selected surahs, we want to make sure they're very fluent in Yasin, Kahf, Mulk, Sajda, Waqiyah, because we want to make sure they recite this on a daily basis or a weekly basis, inshallah. And the teaching method for the Quran reader is that it's taught collectively. So inshallah, Hafiz Tahir, if you could have a class. So Hafiz Tahir will explain how the class will take place. So we have, inshallah, some young students in the back. And this is a mock class for you to understand. So they're going to be taught collectively using a board. Instead of board, we have the screen over here. And the students learn from the teacher as well as each other. So here's a sample from the page of the book. So if you guys can come here. MashaAllah, my daughter is also there as well. Umayma. And the rest of you guys, please come in here.
Took this around. Oh, it should take it. All right, guys, come on. All right. Yeah. All right. So let's have the boys sit on this side and the girls sit on this side. Okay. Face me, facing this way. Here, let me arrange them.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, sit in a row. Yusuf, you have to go back. No, back over there.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What do you guys say when somebody says salam? You say wa alaikum salam loudly, right? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. MashaAllah. So today we're going to be going through this lesson. First I want you to repeat with me. A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Rabbi Zidni Ilma. Okay, let's go through the first line first. Everybody repeat with me. Kam min sirata. Kam min sirata. Kam min sirata. Very good. So can I get a volunteer? One of you guys, who's going to come up and show me if they can read this, and everybody's going to repeat after them. Who's going to come first? Salman? Alright. MashaAllah. So now you're going to do the same thing and everybody's going to repeat after you, okay?
You have to read up.
You have to read from here.
Kam min sirata an'amta.
He's the new teacher now, MashaAllah. You're going ahead of me. Alright.
Min qablika anfusahum.
MashaAllah. Very good. Alright, I think they want to do a line each. Alright, so who's going to come next? Safiya? Alright. So first repeat with me, and then Safiya is going to read with me. You just stay here. Kama amana لذهب وأرنا مناسكنا. Look over there. Follow along from there where I'm reading, okay? Does anybody know where sikana is? Hold this. You don't have to. This is right here. Sikana. Nahnu khalaqakum. Very good. Now, Safiya, can you do the whole line with everybody?
Kam
Not the top line, this line, second line.
kama amana ladhahaba wa arina manasikana nahnu khalaqakum.
Okay, now if she makes a mistake, then someone has to correct her, okay?
Right, so this is part of one of, if any of the student who comes up and they make a mistake from reading up here, so before the teacher corrects the students, we're going to have the students themselves, one of the students correct the teacher student who's up here. So it's good enough. I think this is just this example, inshallah, how we're going to conduct the class.
So this is the example, alhamdulillah, that just a sample. These are, mashallah, they did really well. So many of the students that come, they might not be able to this. This might be a totally new lesson for them. And they might be getting stuck. But the key thing is the teacher saying it out loud, so they are following the teacher. So they are saying it. Number two, 1, 2, or 3 students are also going to teach it. So they're also repeating it 4 or 5 times. They're also getting it taught 4 or 5 times. And one key thing regarding Quran is they have to be loud. If you want a successful Quran class, there must be noise. If you walk by a Quran class and there's no noise, something is wrong. Those children are not learning. They're not going to know the Quran. In order to learn Quran, they must be yelling it on their lungs. You know, kam min, sirat, and kids like that. You know, everyone else doing it, they're also doing it, so they're learning without really feeling that they're learning something. It becomes a natural process, and that's how children are. Okay, you guys can sit down now. If you want to sit there, you can sit there, but you can go in the back as well. Okay? Yusuf, go there. So that's the point. The point is that it must be natural. Quran education must be natural. And when it's not natural, you've probably seen many students that when they come up to the teacher with their one-on-one lesson and they don't know it, they'll be twirling their hair and pulling on their clothes, and because they're so nervous and they don't know what's going on. I've experienced that so much when a child who's scared or doesn't know it. They're shy or they don't know it. And because of that, that becomes a hindrance in their progress. But when everyone else is doing it, the shyness goes away. They become bold. It becomes fun. You're yelling it, you're screaming it, and one person is teaching it and he messes up and everyone kind of laughs a little, and then another child corrects him. But you learn. And you learn and learn, and it becomes very natural. So that's how we're going to teach the Qaeda. But it's going to be the entire class moving together. Entire class has to move together in this. Now year 3 and 5, and I'll take the questions inshallah later. The 3 and 5, I really want you to pay attention on this, because there's a lot of numbers, and those of you guys that like numbers, you'll enjoy this, but it's a bit dry, but you'll understand the system we're applying. A lot of thought has gone behind this. A lot of thought has gone behind this. So the teaching method, so once they're done with the Qaeda, now they're coming in the Quran. The actual Quran, we want them to read. So the teaching will be nazara, will be done collectively as well. Every student repeats the same exact lesson. Same exact line. And there's a gradual increase in the number of lines of Quran recited daily with concentration on speed and accuracy. The thing is, many people want to do a lot, but the child is not fast enough. There's no speed. Or if there's speed, there's no accuracy. We want to make sure that the speed and accuracy gradually increases. And that's the natural process of learning Quran. There's not a competition. For some reason, our parents, they're like, when will our child finish the Quran? How quickly can he finish? Like, but why do you want to finish him quickly? No, I just want him to finish quickly. But what's the reason why? You ask him, do you want him to finish quickly high school, middle school, grade school? No, that you have to do with everyone else. Because why? You've got to gradually increase in that one. But when it comes to Quran and Islamic education, we don't apply the same concepts. Why is that so? So Quran, you need time. You need quality time, and it has to be, then you'll see quality at the end. Anything that you rush into it, the quality will not be there. The quality will not remain. So the way that's going to happen is, first we're going to take a survey of the class when they come into the 3rd year. And we're going to time them, that in 1.5 minutes, how much of the Quran they could recite, how far do they get, and how accurate they are. So we have an idea. That is the Qaeda that they learned for 2 years, how strongly they learned it. If they're really struggling to progress within 1.5 minutes, that means we need to stop. This child needs more effort. So first we have an assessment. Once that is done, the Quran will be continuously read by all the students. So we have a class of 15 students, okay, 15 students. The way to do it in 3rd year is that we have أُولَٰئِكَ عَلَىٰ هُدًى مِّن رَبِّهِمْ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ. That entire ayat, the first 4 lines. Abdullah is going to read it in 3 to 5 minutes. Let's say 5 minutes, okay, 5 minutes. Arshad is also going to read the same thing within 5 minutes. Amir will also read the same thing within 5 minutes. Fatima will also read it in 5 minutes, and Aisha will also read in 5 minutes, more or less. Some will finish in 3 minutes. Now, if, for example, let's say if Amir, at the end of 5 minutes, he's halfway there, the teacher knows, I need to give a little bit more attention to Amir. He's falling behind the class. So the teacher is going to read it, and everyone's going to listen. Then Abdullah is going to read it, and everyone's going to listen. Arshad is going to read it, and everyone's going to listen. And like this, every student will recite, but at the same time, what's going on? Every student's listening. So they're listening to this lesson 15 times from someone else. Plus they're reciting themselves. In order to be successful, there are many things involved. You need to look at the Quran, you need to recite the Quran, you also need to listen to the Quran. Listen to good Quran as well. And now what's going to happen is, let's say, if Abdullah recites, and Abdullah makes a mistake. Instead of Sawa'un alayhim, he said Siwa'un alayhim. And the teacher goes, Abdullah, look again. And he looks again, and he doesn't know. And then the teacher helps him. It's Sawa, with the fatha on the scene. Sawa'un alayhim. Maybe Amir was going to make the same mistake. But because Abdullah got corrected, Amir also knows that I better make sure I don't make a mistake on the same place. His Quran is getting corrected without the teacher correcting him. His Quran is being corrected on its own. He's picking up other people's mistakes to make sure he's not making the same mistakes. And that's how they're going to learn. So the entire class. But in one day, how many lines they learned? 4 lines only. 4 lines only one day. So many parents have said, yaar, is tarah karenge to kab khatam hoga Quran? When will the Quran end? My child will never finish the Quran. I want 1 year, shop. We must be done. We must be back to school. Like, no. We're going to take it slowly. So, Monday will be 4 lines. Tuesday will be another 4 lines. Wednesday will be another 4 lines. And Thursday will be 3 lines of the first page and 1 line from the next page. We're going to use the 15-line Quran in this madrasa. A 15-line Quran. The reason is very easily accessible. When people go to Umrah, they could easily purchase those Qurans as well. Even in Chicagoland, many of the stores have 15 lines. And it's very easy. And the thing is, every page ends with the ayah. Every page ends with the ayah. So we're going to stick with it. 13 line is also very good. 16 liners are also very good. But we want to keep a system. We'll stick with the 15-line Quran. So 1 page plus 1 line in 1 week. So when you add that up, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that is 4 lines, 4 lines, 4 lines, 4 lines. At the end of the week, 16 lines were finished. How much is 16 lines? 1.06 page. 1.06 page. In 4 weeks, that equals 4.24 pages. So in 1 month. In 1 month, they have only read 4 pages. You're like, yeah, salam. 4 pages in 1 month? What's going to happen to my child? Wait, this is a system. They're only what? 7, 8 years old. We're not making them into allamas at this age, right? They're just learning. You have to gradually increase. So this is what's going to happen. In the first month, 2, 3, 4 months. In first 4 months, they're only going to read 4 lines a day. Then when January comes, the 5th month, now their speed has increased, their accuracy. Why? Because when you have a smaller amount, you could concentrate on the small amount. Many of the youth, when they're given 2 pages, they really don't know where to concentrate. No matter how many times you read it, it just looks new. But if you give him a small amount, he's repeating. He got those 4 lines mastered. So his speed has increased, his accuracy has also increased. Now in the speed accuracy, the same amount of time, 5 minutes, he could do 6 lines now. So now everyone is doing 6 lines. They increase 2 lines. Now if you do 6 lines at the end of the week, that's 1.6 pages. At the end of the month, that's 6.4 pages. And when you add this up, when you look at the right hand side column, September, October, November, December, they did 4 pages. Then January to June, they did 6 pages. The total number of pages in 1 year, year 3, is 55 pages of Quran. And in 1 juz, it's about 20 pages. 1 juz is 20 pages. So they read 2.7 juz in 1 year. They read close to 3 juz. The entire class together properly. But they did not only just recite 2.7 juz. They also heard 15 times that many juz. Because they heard that from every single student as well. So they're listening to this Quran over and over and over again. Okay? This is the first year. And I've done the math here. You could see the math. Okay? Year 4. This is the intermediate year, where they're going to increase their time. Now in this year, what we're going to do is we're going to split them up into groups. So you have a class of, let's say, 20 students. We want 15, but let's say we got some extra this time, okay? We got 20 students. We're going to make them into groups of 5s. 5, 1 group, 5, 1 group, 5, second group, 5. Now you have groups. Now those 5 are going to recite to each other. What they're going to do, they have 10 minutes. Okay, so you have 50 minutes. We want to do everything within 1 hour. So we're going to give some buffer time as well. So 50 minutes. Let's take 50 minutes. 5 students times 10, that's 50 minutes. In 10 minutes, they have to read 25 lines. If the speed is increased and accuracy, they will easily do this. 10 minutes is a long time for Quran. Okay, 10 minutes. To do 25 lines in 10 minutes, that's a piece of cake. Everyone is doing the same exact thing. So that's 1.6 pages every single day that they're reading. Okay? So 5 students do that. They're all doing the same thing, but if you collectively gather how much Quran is recited, they collectively recited equal to 8.3 pages just in that one day. Okay? And when you add that up, daily Quran recitation is equal to 1 juz. The daily Quran recitation, when you add up all the students, and we were to calculate how much, keep in mind they're doing the same lesson, so they're not really reading 1.6 juz, but I'm saying equivalence. That's how much Quran is recited. So it's 10 minutes, you got 25 lines to do. Now what the teacher is going to do is he's going to have groups come to him. He's going to listen to everyone. If he thinks like another group, they're not really paying attention, he's going to go and sit with that group. If he finds mistakes, you're going to correct the mistakes. When you correct one student, you're correcting all the students, because they're going to pay attention to the mistake as well. So year 4, you have 25 lines, 25 lines, 25 lines every single day. At the end of the week, you've read 100 lines. Every student has recited 100 lines in 1 week. That's 6 pages, 6.6 pages in 1 week. And in a month, there's been 1.3 juz in 1 month. So in 1 month, they're going to recite more than 1 juz. In 10 months, it's going to equal to 13.3 juz in 1 year. Every student has recited, plus they have heard 4 other students recite the same amount. They have heard 4 other students 13 paras. They themselves have heard. And the 5th year is going to be the unique year. The 5th year, now again, their speed is increased, their accuracy is increased. If you want, you could split it up into smaller groups. If not, you could keep them because their speed is increased. Now they want to recite 5 pages. I asked Hafiz Tahir that if a student who recites well, how long will it take to recite 5 pages? He said 10 minutes you could recite 5 pages. 10 minutes you could recite in a very nice manner with proper tajweed. You could do that, because their tajweed is good, their recitation is good, they recognize the letters. So now they're doing 5 pages, 5 pages, 5 pages, 5 pages. You do 20 pages. That's 1 juz a week. 1 juz they're doing in a week. In 1 month, that becomes 4 juz. 4 juz. So the first 3 months, we want them to do 4 juz a month. 4 juz in September, 4 juz in October, 4 juz or paras in December. And then we're going to increase their speed. Instead of 5 pages, 6 pages. So now they're becoming 5 juz, 5 juz, 5 juz, 5 juz. And April and May, we want to increase their speed and accuracy even more to do 6 juz in a month. And by the time June comes, they should be done. And they're just doing now hifz. So total in the year, 5th year, 44 juz must be recited. So if you add 3rd year, 4th year, and 5th year, the 3rd year they only did less than 3 juz, right? In the 4th year they did 13 juz. In the 5th year they're doing 44 juz. And if you add all of it, that equals 2 complete Qurans. 2 complete Qurans will be finished in 3 years. Not just that, they have heard so many other people's entire completion as well. Another student's entire completion as well. So this is the thing, we want to listen to the Quran, we want to correct the Quran, they must be engaged in all different directions. Once they do this, trust me brothers and sisters, they're ready for hifz. Hifz become very easy. One of the biggest problems with hifz classes that parents have come to speak to me, and they're very frustrated, is they have put their child in a hifz class without their nazar becoming strong. The way I tell them is like you're telling someone to memorize a page of English without them could reading English. If the child cannot read English fluently, and you said that learn this entire page by tomorrow, how difficult that must be for him or her. They're struggling. They're struggling to make just the words out, and then you want them to memorize it. And the child gets frustrated, the teacher gets frustrated, the parent gets frustrated, and there's one child I know that an entire year just 1 juz they memorized. And then they feel like my child cannot become a hafiz. Maybe hifz is not written for him. Maybe hifz is not in his taqdeer. How can we say that? The process was not correct. Now another who could read English fluently, very fast, accurately, you give him a page to memorize. Inshallah, in a very short amount of time, because he could read it very fast. For him to memorize it is no difficulty. His hifz will progress very quickly. So this is preparing for future huffaz as well, that inshallah they will not have a problem memorizing the Quran as well. But trust me, if the nazara is weak, The hifz is going to take a very long time, and they will be frustrated. So this, inshallah, the nazar will be strong. So that's how we want it. That's how the Quran education is going to be. Second is, we have a no hitting policy. I know many of the parents might disagree, nahi, you have to hit the kids. You know, some parents like that, you know, you keep the bones, give us the skin. You know, we don't believe in that concept. This is not the way of the Prophet ﷺ either. I don't believe in hitting. I think that if you want them to love the Quran, you should be kind and you should teach them how to love. They must enjoy the class. If they're dreading to come to class, they'll learn the Quran, but they'll never open it up again. How many hafizes that were beat very severely to do hifz, they memorized it, but now they don't recite anymore. They have really bad memories. And I've spoken to Hufaz. They have very bad memories. We want all of our children to come here to love the masjid, love the Quran, love their teacher. And that comes through love. As our dear Maulana Hakim Maktab rahimahullah would say, Ar-Rahman allama al-Quran. The most merciful has taught the Quran. The sifat al-Raham has to be in the teacher if he's going to be a Quran teacher. Rahmah has to be there. Ar-Rahman allama al-Quran. Not Al-Jabbar allama al-Quran. Al-Aziz allama al-Quran. No, these are not the Quranic ayats. Ar-Rahman allama al-Quran. How beautifully Allah explains. The teacher has to have rahmah in them to be a proper teacher of the Quran. So our policy is going to be no hitting, no... Yes, tarbiyah is going to take place. That doesn't mean we let the kids jump off the walls and all that. No, tarbiyah has to take place still. But we cannot be strict. We cannot break the child. It shouldn't be that we beat the Quran into the child, but we beat the Islam out of the child. That should not be the case. So the teaching methodology is going to be very unique here, that the teacher has to be alert. And I'm, as the person in charge of the teachers, trust me, I'm going to be breathing down my teachers, okay, to make sure that they're diligently doing the work. And I have full trust in my teachers. The team that we have collected, it's a wonderful team. Everyone's on the same page, everyone understands, they really want to, you know, it's a team effort. So I won't really have to do much, but I'm still going to be monitoring all the teachers. Be alert on the recitation of mistakes. If the child makes a mistake, don't let it pass by. Correct it, because why? You're correcting everyone else as well. Keep a sharp eye on those who are repeating it wrong. There are certain students might be repeating correctly. There's something wrong. We need to get to the bottom of it. Why is it that he's having struggling? Maybe he didn't learn the rule properly. Maybe in the qaida, this section, he didn't pay attention. So the teacher has to have a keen eye for this. Have them teach other students collectively. If you have, the best way to learn something is to teach it. Honestly, one of my teachers, Maulana Suleiman Chokshi, he says that you have not learned a book until you have taught it 5 times. I was like, wow. And trust me, once I started teaching certain Islamic sections, then I truly understood, acha, this is what the author's trying to say. Until you don't teach it, you don't really understand. So we want the students to become teachers while they're studying. So now you have an entire class, they feel proud. I'm going to teach all the other kids. They're going to do a good job. They're going to concentrate. They're going to be diligent. You know, they're going to be involved. So we want the students to teach other students as well. Mistakes must be identified by the teacher, but corrected by other students. Ask the students what they have learned yesterday. So in the first few minutes, we want to, kind of recap yesterday's lesson for the Islamic studies. Have them review with others to repeat it. Ask each day about their practices. Again, tarbiyah. How many salats did you pray today? They're 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7. We don't expect them to pray 5 times. It's a natural process. At the age of 7, that's when you start teaching them. That chalo, now let's do. At the age of 10, you have 3 years to bring it into the system. At the age of 10, if they're not praying salah, performing salah, then you start to reprimand them. Right? But we want to encourage them. Someone say, oh, I prayed Dhuhr today. I prayed Maghrib today. And they feel proud in front of everyone, they did something good. And teacher will have stars and they have candies and we'll have parties and all that. We want to encourage them that they feel proud of their achievements. This is not against ikhlas, to make the students feel proud about their actions. This is something that's necessary. Always use positive encouragement. They will respond if they see the teacher showing interest. If the teacher is showing interest, they will show interest. So the Islamic studies, so the first half of the Maktab will be Quran. There's 2 hours, so around 1 hour will be this Quran education, and the second part of it is going to be Islamic studies. Now, we went through so many different curriculums, so many book sets. We with a group of scholars, The scholars were in New York, Detroit, California, Texas, and here in Chicago. We had a conference call for more than 3 hours. We went through every single book, the pros and cons, what are the goods, what are the bads, as far as the graphics, the language, is the English okay for us? We discussed it in every single angle we could. And after that, we chose the An-Nasiha series to be the best for our children. So it was finalized after approval of several ulama. Several different curriculums were studies. Now the subjects will be divided according to the days and the months. So on Monday, for example, they have 2 subjects. Tuesday, they have another 2 subjects. Thursday, they might have 1 subject. Fiqh might take the entire 1 hour, example. So there'll be, and inshallah, and we're going to explain this to the parents when they register. The areas they're going to cover is fiqh, hadith, seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, history of the previous prophets, as well as the Muslim nations that are coming after the Prophet ﷺ. We have aqidah, akhlaq, and adab. MashaAllah. And our first phase is for the students from grade 1 to 5. This is our concentration. Once we are concentrating this, then our second phase that we're going to develop and work on is the middle school level that we want. And that's when they're becoming teenagers, 13, 14, 15-year-olds. We're going to concentrate on them. We want to make sure the first phase is running smoothly, then we're going to, inshallah, put our energies and efforts on the second phase. Every student will have a course book and a workbook. Course book is the book that they're going to study in class with the teacher. Workbook is something they'll take home, inshallah, and work on. Now, the homework is according to each level. What do they give in kindergarten when our kids go to school over here? A lot of it's coloring, writing a bit story, spelling, right? This is also going to be here, that they're going to be coloring and spelling and recognizing, block terms, etc. for the kindergarten, then gradually increasing. So the books are in the back. I highly encourage you to look at the books. And once you go further, they get very complex. Child psychology and education is also very important for us here at MSI. The Prophet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Qu'ran, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Musa alayhi salam and Harun alayhi salam, these are great Anbiya, the great Nabi, Rusul of the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands them. That's not optional command. وَقُولَا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا. When you speak to who? Fir'aun, the wretched of people on the face of the earth. When you speak to Fir'aun, speak to him in a kind manner. Perhaps he might take heed, or perhaps he might, have fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A Nabi is being commanded to speak to Fir'aun in a kind manner. Respected brothers and sisters of Islam, these children are not Fir'aun. These are Muslim children, they're precious. So what do you think we want? How do you think we want our teachers to speak to these children then? In a very kind, very humble, very loving manner. We have to do this. Regarding the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَبِبَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ. It's through the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you're very soft with them. وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَنْفَضُّ مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. That if you were to be harsh, it shows you're harsh with them, then none of these people will stay around you. They'll run away. It means if you want to bring people close, you have to be soft, loving and kind. If you're going to say, hey, learn this. Why don't you know your lessons? Learn your Quran. Go do wudu. You think the child wants to come to school? لَنْفَضُّ مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. This applies to us as well. These students are not going to be around us. They're going to run away. Okay? فَعْفُ عَنْهُمْ. Yes. The Prophet ﷺ is being told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَعْفُ عَنْهُمْ. Be kind to them. They might have some ill manners. Some etiquettes might be missing. Because they had some, these people from the villages from outside. These Arabi would come and say, Ya Muhammad. They won't have etiquettes. So, فَعْفُ عَنْهُمْ. Forgive them. Don't worry about their etiquettes. وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ. And ask forgiveness for them. وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ. And make mashura. So we have to apply this to our children. These children, they're going to be rude sometimes. They might not be listening. فَعْفُ عَنْهُمْ. Forgive them. وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لَهُمْ. Make dua for them. The teacher has to make dua for these children. وَشَاوِرْهُمْ. Talk to them. Communicate with them. What should we do next? Make them part of the team. فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ. And once you make an azam, once you decide something, فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. Then have tawakkul on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, say Bismillah. So inshallah, if a person adopts this manner, a teacher adopts this manner, they will be successful. Another hadith in Bukhari and Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ is speaking to a child. And the child had a little pet, and the pet passed away. Said, Ya Aba Umair, ma fa'ala Nughair. He said, Oh Umair, his name is Umair. He said, no, his name is Umar or Umair. He said, Oh Umair, what happened to Nughair? What happened to the little bird of yours that used to play? So he's speaking to the children in the same language. They're like, he rhymed Umair with Nughair. He's using rhyming techniques with the child to communicate with them. You're speaking to the Prophet ﷺ is teaching us how we're supposed to teach children. Speak to your children in the children's language. And also, the Prophet ﷺ, Mar ala ghilman, fasallam alayhim. Whenever he passed by children, he didn't just ignore them. He would say salam to them. He would pay attention to them, give them the full attention. Assalamu alaikum. They're children. The Prophet is the Prophet of Allah, but he will say salam to the children as well. So it's very important for parents, administration, and teachers to understand the human temperament. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lays down the human temperament throughout the Quran. وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. Insan is made da'if, very weak. We're very weak people. Okay, وَكَانَ الْإِنسَانُ عَجُولًا. This mankind, they're, jaldbaz. You want everything done really quickly. You know how parents come, how quickly can you finish the Quran? Ajula. They just want everything done very quickly. وَكَانَ الْإِنسَانُ عَجُولًا. So these are the characteristics of insan. But when we look at all this, they're all weaknesses of a human being. إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَكَفُورٌ. Mankind is very ungrateful, very ungrateful. But the khulasa, kullu bani Adam khatta'un. Every son of Adam makes mistakes. We're full of mistakes. Wa khairul khatta'in at-tawwabun. And the best of those that make mistakes are those that repent. So these children that we have, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to make mistakes. We want to teach them the etiquettes that they realize their mistakes. Not too harsh, not to be harsh with them. More regarding the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, كان أبو سعيد إذا جاءه طلاب العلم قال مرحبا بوصية رسول الله. Subhanallah. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, whenever students would come, he would say, welcome, welcome. This is the wasiyah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The wasiyah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that the waratha of the anbiya is what? Ilm. As the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-ulama warathatul anbiya. And then the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that the inheritance of the prophets is not coins, gold and silver, but it's the knowledge. These people came for knowledge, they came to take the inheritance of the Prophet ﷺ. So they would consider their honor. A teacher must consider students coming to study by them as an honor, that you have honored me by coming to study this knowledge. Sufyan al-Thawri, who would say that, Wallahi, if the students would not come to me, I would go to their house. That is their maqam, that is their level, that is the sharaf Allah has given them, that I will go to their house. And Rabi' bin Sulaiman, he says that Imam Shafi'i would say to me that, Oh Rabi', if I could make knowledge into small little food items and feed you to it, I would do so. I would make it easy as I can so that you learn. This is also a lesson for us as teachers, that make the lessons easy for the students so they could digest it, they could learn it. Now the reason why I'm saying this to the parents, so the parents understand what is the psychology that we're going to put into our teachers to teach the students. So you appreciate, inshallah, the Maktab system. The objective of learning child psychology is to understand the development stages of the child. And we're going to have a separate child psychology class for our parents at a different institute. Collectively we're going to have it, so they understand child psychology and know how to teach our children. It's also to understand the reason for behavior. If a child is acting up, don't just smack him. Why is he acting up? What's the reason behind it? To establish effective communication and gain confidence of the child. Understand factors that affect the development of the child and be a good teacher with good understanding of the child. So our Maktab students, we have 5 to 10, right? This is a target audience, 5 to 10. They learn to adapt to culture. Whatever culture you put in, they're going to adapt to that. If you give a wholesome Islamic environment, they will adapt to that and they'll take that back home. And if you put them in a non-Islamic environment, they will adapt to that as well. If you put a child who's going to be watching TV every single day, that becomes his environment. He's going to be used to that. And the day you don't give him the TV, he's going to make a noise. Turn on the TV. I need to watch my cartoons. Why? Because he is adapted to that. That's become part of his life now. So they learn to adapt to a culture. And this is also the stage they learn to separate from their parents. That's why we send them to school at this time. They go to kindergarten, first grade, second grade. They're used to being separated from their parents now. They also develop self-confidence, and we're going to use that. That's why they're going to be in front of the class teaching, to get the confidence, because we want to train them to make sure that they have good upbringing. So this is the stage to create that self-confidence as well. So you start playing school games as well. Parents normally are the role models at the age of 5, 6, and they want to be like their parents all the time. Whatever Abu is doing or Mama is doing, children love to do that, right? You don't even have to tell them to pray Salah. You just start praying Salah, your child will come and stand next to you. They just want to be like you. But slowly that transfers into an external person now. Now, if you don't give a good role model, they're going to find their own role models. They're going to find sports figures, television, whatever actors and actresses are on TV, on magazines, they're going to see, that's going to become role models. But if you send them to school, their teachers are going to become the role models. We've been taught that we have to be good role models for others. رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ. The last part, وَجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. Make me an imam al-muttaqeen. In order to be the imam al-muttaqeen, we have to make sure they have taqwa. Then only you could become an imam al-muttaqi, right? So we are supposed to be, a father is the imam of his family. But you can only be the imam of the family if the family is muttaqeen. Then this ayah will make sense. So playing, they develop morals. So we have games, we're going to have stories. It could be good or bad based on environments. 80% of the brain development happens between the age and 6. This is statistically, the neurologists say that between 4 to 6, that's when the rapid brain movement happens. They learn to identify a problem and give solutions. So a very important thing is to play games. And we want them to learn Islam through games. It should be natural. There's one famous scholar, he said that, you know what, he didn't have his own children. So he said, please bring me a child. You know, I want to play, I want to, you know, it's healthy to play with children as well. So they brought him a child, and his child was just very quiet and not making any noise and just sitting there. But isko le jao, bring me another child. Now the second child came, that second child's climbing on his back and playing with his topi and beard and this and that. He said, first one he brought me was a buzurg, was a very pious person. The second one was a child. In other words, you expect children to be children. Don't expect them to be, like, you know, sit in a straight line. Don't move. Your pen has to be straight. Everything. This is not boot camp. You know, children are going to be children. We expect them from them. So don't try to stop their childhood. Let them be free. Their skills develop in this. And this is where they develop their memorization, research, imagination, language. We want to build on top of this. Now, one of the, you know, persons asking me that I've taught Maktab. And a problem I had was, what do I do with children that misbehave? There's always that one child who's just very, you know, just stubborn. He's just as hard as a rock. You can't break through to him. What do we do? So we have to identify the problem. If the child is abusive to himself, to the teacher, student, or to the masjid property. You know, there was one madrasa in New Orleans, the same child burned it down twice. Entire madrasa. You know, you shouldn't have those children in madrasa then. First time was enough for you to learn a lesson. Why did you get him back into the madrasa? He burned the same madrasa down twice. This is a fact, by the way. So if it's an abusive child, you give them a warning. If they're still doing, you have to dismiss them. Because why? You're affecting other children now. The other children have a right to be safe. They have a right to be safe. So if someone is using racial slurs or swearing a lot, you know, and now other kids are picking it up, but they're getting offended and parents are complaining, we give warning to this child and the parents, and if it's not rectified, we have to dismiss them. I'm sorry. Because when the sickness is just local, we could handle it, but when the sickness spreads and other part of the body is going to spread, what do? They have to amputate that part of the body. They have to cut it off. So we have to do that. That's hikmah. If the child is ill-mannered, then we have to diagnose the ill manner and we have to treat it. How to make his manners properly. If the child is naughty, then he's just being a child. Children are naughty sometimes. You know, they giggle for no reason and they run around. And so we have to understand the child, we have to connect with the child, and then we learn how to control the child. That's a process. And a child is silly, accepted. Children should be silly. So if he's just silly, you know, sometimes he just looks at you and smiles. Or he just starts laughing. Okay, let him laugh. You don't have to stop him. Why are you laughing? You shouldn't be laughing. No. They're silly, let them be silly. You have to recognize what is the level that we have and approach it in a different level. You cannot, sabko ek hi dande se haka nahi jata. You cannot, try to cure everyone with the same stick. The problem is different, you have to approach it differently. Solve problems with affection. There was a companion, Sahabi, he said, in my childhood, I would take rocks and throw it at trees for the dates to fall down because I wanted to eat it. Somebody took me to the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ, he advised me that the dates that have already fallen on the ground, you could take that and eat it, but don't throw rocks on the trees and don't break it down. Means you're hungry, understand? The ones that are on the ground already, fine, eat that, but don't break it from the tree. And then the Prophet ﷺ patted me and blessed me. But look at the hikmah. Look at the hikmah. He talked to him nicely. It was an offense. You're breaking someone else's fruits, right? It's an offense. You could handle it in a harsh manner, or you could handle it in a soft manner. The Prophet ﷺ handled it in a very soft manner that he understood and realized that I'm not in a threat. My life is not in a threat. I'm not being accused. I'm not being yelled down. Very lovingly, he said that pick up the lying dates on the ground, but do not make them fall with the stones. And then he patted. Then he also comforted him. It's okay, beta. It's okay. Rasulullah found the problem, solved it, rather than yelling at the child. So there are two methods of fixing an error. You have the positive, which you appreciate. MashaAllah, such a beautiful thing you've done. MashaAllah. And you have a little poster on the, in class, you put stars and everything. Motivate, encourage, set goals, give prizes. We're going to do all that. And then you have negative reinforcement. But negative doesn't mean hitting or striking or name calling. Negative means that if they have a break, you take their break away. Oh, this really hurts the students. Let's say that they have a 5-minute break. He said, if you mess around, you're not going to have break today. You have to sit in class. Tomorrow, they won't mess around again. Because why? You took their breaks. Something very precious you took away from them. Or you could make them write something, detention, send them to the principal. Never use nicknames. Beokoof, tujhe to kuch aata nahi hai. Never call them by nicknames. Beokoof, dummy, donkey. This is sometimes common in cultural, and the teacher innocently says it. Inshallah, teacher doesn't mean it. But I've heard this from some teachers, that they're calling their students gadha. They might say it very casually, but we don't know what's going in the student's heart. And we don't know how he's interpreting this. And if you hurt the child, you've pushed him away. You won't be able to connect to him. So never use insulting names, Beokoof, or downplayed child. You will never understand. You'll never understand. Instead, use constructive criticism. You will understand only if you work hard. If you work hard, you're going to get this. You're saying the same thing. You got to work hard, basically, right? But you spell it out instead of saying that you're never going to understand. So we want to use that. Now, types of learners. I know I'm taking a lot of your time. I'm going to end very soon, inshallah. There are different types of learners we have. And we understand this through psychology. We have visual learners. Those that are visual learners, if you verbally say it to them, they don't understand so well. They have to see it on the screen. They have to see it on the board. You have to draw diagrams, okay? You have auditory learners, voice and tones. You have to speak to them. And you have kinesthetic learners. They have movements, touch. You have to touch them. You have to walk with them. They have to stand up, walk around in the class. Nowadays you have ADHD. You have students like that. They're very hyperactive. And until they do not move, they're not going to be able to concentrate. So in Sri Lanka, alhamdulillah, we discussed all this. So what teachers over do is they recognize the students. And when they see a student actually has this issue, they'll stop the class and the whole class will stand up, go outside, take a walk and come back. He needed that. Now he's calm. He got what he wanted. He's going to concentrate now. The teacher has to have a keen eye. He has to understand the different type of learners that are in the class. That's why our teachers, they're not just going to sit down. How Hafiz Tahir right now, he stood up, he pointed, visual, right? He spoke, he got the student to move. He's using all three. That's how you get the students involved, that you need to make sure that all of our teachers are going to be implementing this. And understanding their emotions and capacity. Rasulullah ﷺ used to play with Aisha when she was a young age. She was young. Safiya radiallahu ta'ala was very sensitive. The Prophet ﷺ took extra care of her, that even when he was in Masjid Atikaf, the Prophet ﷺ would call her. Rasulullah ﷺ told an orphan boy who didn't have parents, his parents passed away, that I am your father and Aisha is your mother. Not real mother and father, but I am as a father figure to you and Aisha is a mother figure to you. That's why we called the wives of the Prophet Ummahat al-Mu'mineen. They're the mothers of the Ummah. Zayd bin Thabit, now if you appreciate a child and see what's good in them, They could do great work. Zayd bin Thabit was only 11 years old when he became Katibul Wahi. He was one of the people that used to write down the Wahi. He was 11 years old. He also learned the Hebrew language in 15 to 18 days. The Prophet ﷺ saw that this child is exceptionally good. He pushed him in that direction. Abu Zar Ghafari, on the other hand, the Prophet ﷺ told him, don't ever lead anyone. Even if it's 3 people, don't become Amir. Because the Prophet ﷺ knows that his nature is so soft, people will take advantage of him. Okay? Anas radiallahu ta'ala says he never saw a teacher more compassionate than the Prophet ﷺ. Our children should say the same regarding us. That my teacher, he's the best. He loves me so much. That's how the teachers have to be here. So what children really need, they need love, belonging, feel good about themselves, feel good at sometimes, to have some boundaries. So we need to put some boundaries. So this is how our madrasa is going to be. If you're always told what to do, then you're that sheep that's inside a very constructed area. You can't really move anywhere. And if you go all the way on the right side and say, but you can do whatever you want, jo chahe kar sakte ho, then the sheep is lost. Like, what's right, what's wrong? I don't know what to do, what's right. You have to give them freedom with limits. So we're going to give our children in a classroom freedom to move around, but with limits as well. Inshallah, I'm going to go faster because the time is going. Also, we have to be very fair. Every child, we cannot have favoritism. Oh, this child is my cousin's nephew's brother. You know, that's also your cousin's nephew. So you're being extra kind to him because why? You're related to that person. But look at the Prophet ﷺ. Usama bin Zayd was the son of Zayd, who was a freed slave of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay? So he's a son of a slave, technically. Allah's Messenger he says Allah's Messenger used to put me on one of his thighs and put Hassan bin Ali, Hassan on the other thigh. And he embraced both of us. Oh Allah, be merciful upon them as I am merciful. You have your own grandson and you have a slave's son. But the Prophet ﷺ treated them both equally, with both of them the same love. You have to have equality. No matter what race they're from, what gender they're, what class, what background, every child is precious to us. Treat them with equality. We'll go to this, inshallah. Warning, a child who is not loved, many times has been shown in results, they're prone to rebel. There's been case studies done of these people that do these, horrific crimes. Many of them have really bad childhood. They're not loved when they were young. They were abused. A ridiculed child may develop insecurities. A child threatened with imaginary fears. You better do this or the ghost is going to come. The jinn will come. You scare them things which they cannot see. They become fearful for everything. So we're not going to scare them unnecessarily. Harshness will distance the child from the teacher and from deen. So harshness is not the way. And last but not least, we are always trying to improve. We don't say we're perfect. We're going to have shortcomings. We're going to have pitfalls. But we have a vision. And we're going to try, as a team, as a family, to move forward. So that's why for improvement, we're going to have monthly discussions at Mashwara. The principal will meet with the teachers every 2 weeks. The teachers have to sit in a meeting. And we're going to discuss how we could improve. Then the masjid administration, the president, the board members, and even some family members if they want to be part of it. Local community members, we're going to discuss how we could develop our maktab system even more. Because our goal is, we all have the same goal, is how can our children have the best education and how their iman could be preserved. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us ability to run this maktab in a very successful manner. But now what we need from you, brothers and sisters, is the most precious things from you. And that's your children. We need your children to register for this program. The more children we have, the more successful inshallah we'll be. So please go online and register. We have some computers in the back. Brothers will assist you for registration as well. Sisters downstairs, there's some tables downstairs as well for registration. And if you know any family members, your neighbors, this should be the talk of Glendale Heights community. That why is our child not in the maktabs? I'm putting my own 3 kids inshallah in this maktab system as well. So yeah, so please register here as now. Yeah, so downstairs, upstairs, please register. If you have children, register for this program. And inshallah, we have 1 week. We're going to have teachers training. The books are coming in as well. And then after 1 week, the Monday, we'll have our first class, inshallah. If you have any questions, I am here. The teachers are here. There are 3 female teachers downstairs as well, 2 male teachers. MashaAllah, Hafiz Atiq is here and Hafiz Tahir Dawood is here. These are our teachers from the male side as well. Go up to them and ask them questions. We had an entire meeting for 2 hours before this. So go up to them, ask them questions, inshallah. Any questions you have, you're free to ask. Jazakumullah Khair. Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, and if you have any questions, you could ask downstairs with the food. You could ask openly, and we'll, inshallah, entertain. So if we have food arrangements downstairs, please proceed downstairs, inshallah. Jazakumullah Khair. You could ask questions now as well, yes.
I was wondering about like Jazakullah Khair for the program. How is this different compared to the Sunday school that you have?
The amount of hours is just different, first of all. And we have an entire concentration of Qu'ran. Okay, I'm not too familiar with the curriculum of the Sunday school, and I will be inshallah helping out there. And I want to get involved in that. It's a wonderful program, but you have to keep in mind that when people came here to America first, they needed something. They needed to start something. They said something's better than nothing. At least send our kids to one day. We cannot send every day. Send one day. So that's how the majority of the Sunday schools. That's how it started. It was something to fill in the void, right? But if you go to those places that have a proper Maktab system running, those countries, England, South Africa, Sri Lanka, India, they do not have Sunday school. Why? Because this, curriculum, it fills that void. So this is like a next step. For example, that's kind of saying, what's the difference between this Islamic curriculum and going to a full-time madrasa? There's a lot more study involved in a full-time madrasa.
The reason I asked is one person is offering multiple programs.
Yes.
So how are we going to bundle them up?
So not all the parents are going to be interested in sending the kids every day, right? So those that, inshallah, and I think your brother Mohsin could address this as well. So
just real quick, the difference between all the educational programs that we are offering at MSI, we have actually carefully looked at all the offerings that we have, and we want to have all of the educational activities under one umbrella, inshallah. Moving forward, Mufti Azaz will be heading all of our educational activities, but till then, the programs that we have, what we want to do is we want to make them accessible and available based on the availability of the students. Sunday school is a perfect example. So Sunday school, alhamdulillah, will continue. It provides students who can only come once a week to get some basic education of the deen. The Maktab program is going to connect to the students or with the students every day, and they're all going to tie in together. So Sunday school will be a continuation of the Maktab program moving forward, and also whatever is taught here in the Maktab, inshallah, we will complement that with, if the student is also coming to our Sunday school program. There's also the Hifz program. So the Maktab, like Mufti Saab was explaining, this is an automatic progression into our Hifz program moving forward. So we don't want to have competing programs here at the masjid. Each program will complement the other, and inshallah we are not at that point yet, but that's where we want to get to. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so two questions. Young girls will be separate, right? Have their own separate committees?
at the moment, we're going to work on that. It depends on the age. So young, if they're 5-year-old, 6-year-olds, and when there's not enough, then we have the boys on one side and the girls on the other side.
And then second question. So the Qaida that you guys are teaching is very popular.
Yes.
Right. So will there be like initial testing? So if there's enough participation, will some students be able to start like year 1, year 2, or like, hey, I've done this Qaida already, I'm good at this. Let me start year 3.
Yes, so we are going to be taking assessments of the students, inshallah. So if a child has already started the Qaida, let's say, and they're on the 50th lesson, they're not going to be forced to start with Alif Ba Ta. Like, all the students are not going to be on the same level. If they have studied, privately at home or other places, and now we're going to assess them.